Alright guys, looks like we've started the stream here. It is currently 4 p.m. on Saturday, April 11th. If it's not that time where you're at, you're probably watching the rebroadcast of this stream, and you won't be able to participate live with us, but that's okay. The actual live sale is going to be going on for about 48 more hours. So if you happen to be watching the rebroadcast, you can still check out what is still remaining on the website. So if you go to tidalgardens.com, you'll see a little link on the top right for the live sale. And if you click on that, number one, you'll probably see an actual embed of this video for starters. But then you'll see like a bunch of numbered corals. You won't see exactly what they are, but you'll basically see like a quantity and a price. And you'll have to watch the stream in order to see what those are as we reveal them. So, let's see. Any announcements? Not really. Like, last stream, we had some audio issues, and I think it was because, number one, my ISP hates me. So we don't really get anything more than 5 megabits per second up, which is about 1/10 of what is necessary for broadcast quality. So you're getting 1/10 of what you would probably see on your TV. And it's because my ISP doesn't actually have a package, residential or commercial, that goes above 5. So we did a couple things working around that little constraint. So hopefully this particular stream won't be quite so jittery, but we'll see. And let me see. I'm going to see if I can load up the chat here. If you want to participate with the chat, you'll have to do it through YouTube. So yeah, if you just log into YouTube and find this live stream, there's like an active chat session going on. And it looks like right now, we just started like a minute ago. There's so far about 20 people on. And so, yeah, there's some folks here that are helping me out, and they'll get my attention if they see your questions. So hopefully I'll address those in good time. So I've got Robbie here. He's actually one of my customers. He's helping out. We've got Michael, and we have got Matthew. So Matthew's on the camera. And Robbie, you might see hop in and out of chat as well. So anyway, let's get to it. The first coral that we've got going on here is a combination of 2 different palies. And I honestly don't know the name of either of these 2 palies. Like, they look kind of similar to like a cinnamon spice, but they're not really quite there. And to be perfectly honest, these days I've forgotten more names of Zoas and palies than I even remember anymore. So we're kind of at a loss of what these guys are. But if you like them, they're about 20 bucks. Next up, we've got our Fiji hypercolor Zoas. Sometimes these come in like a wider array of colors. Like right now, these are kind of like the green, orange, purple. But as they grow, sometimes completely different color morphs start popping in. So it really forms like a completely different looking mosaic. Checking chat again here. Okay, next up, we've got our Galaxy Zoas. So already you've probably seen some things that we've called Zoas, some things that we've called palies, and we kind of call them something pretty indiscriminate. I think the first 3 really are Zoas. So what's up? Yeah, it's a tad shaky. It's the cart moving. Yeah, so like don't bump the cart. Yeah, we're working through the bumping. So anyway, next coral is actually a true pally. This is our Jack Frost. It's a very large piece for 10 bucks. These things grow like crazy. It's practically a weed. And so we're just kind of like thinning out some of our stock here. Just for your information, we're going to be going through a little over 70 something different corals, but there are multiples as well. So in all, there's probably a bit over 100 that we're going to go through. And I should probably have mentioned it earlier, but if you have a hard time hearing me or something, just let me know. Just mention it in chat, because sometimes it's hard for us to monitor our own audio because there's like a 30-second delay and stuff. And so Team JMRC wants a shout out, so there you go. It's true, we're actually live. All right, next coral up, number 5. These are the Purple Death palythoas. So you can really see a difference in what's like a true palythoa versus like kind of what some people end up calling like a marketing term for what looks like a big zoa. So palies actually incorporate substrate into their flesh, and they have a completely different looking tentacle structure. So you can see between like the Jack Frost and the Purple Deaths, those are real palythoas. If what you think in your tank looks more like this or looks more like a traditional zoa, you can kind of differentiate pretty easily. Okay, so Christopher Scott is asking if we can kind of like list like flow and light requirements. If a coral has like, I guess like special particular needs, I'll bring it up. But it's pretty safe to go with like medium flow and medium light for all of these guys. Now in our systems, we tend to keep things in pretty low light. We're heading into spring, so they're going to be receiving more and more light. But we've noticed that most things do really well in lower light. So if your tank actually has brighter lighting, you're going to want to take some extra time to acclimate corals that you would get from us. Just because there's almost 0 tanks, maybe 1 tank in this entire place that actually receives anything close to high light, meaning like a par value of over like 150 to 200. I'm going to guess that most things are in like par levels of like under 100 in our systems. As for flow, I would say that the vast majority of our stuff is also kept in fairly low flow. But honestly, medium to medium high would probably do better for just about every type of coral. Of the corals that we've seen so far, what it looks like, 3 zoas, 2 palies, we're pretty much looking at that middle of the road, but these guys are so flexible that there's really no special care requirement there. Okay. Moving on, number 6. We've got some mellow yellow zoas. And these guys are pretty sweet. So under daylight conditions, they kind of take on a green coloration, but under actinic, they fluoresce like a bright yellow. And so if you kind of like see on the overlay there, it's $15, but there's 3 of these available. So one person's going to get this actual piece, but there's going to be other very, very similar, practically indistinguishable pieces, and 3 of them are available. Okay. Next up, we've got our pink plasma zoas. I can't talk. Zoanthids. Yeah, these guys have a pretty cool speckled face. A lot of purples and pinks, and they actually have green tentacles, green tips on the tentacles. This guy is $25, which is pretty cheap. Usually we sell these for a lot more, like probably closer to 50. I think that was the last one that we had sold, was in that price range. And somebody was asking, what are the best corals? Kind of depends on how you define best. There's a lot of best corals. They're all the best. So, all right, next up, number 8. These are the candy apple green zoas. And there's probably about there's probably, what, 5 polyps on this guy? And he's $10. Okay, next one, number 9, are some Lucifer Zoas. Yeah, we sell these from time to time on our site, and they're one of the easier to keep Zoas, and I just like their exotic look. You know, they've got like some crazy rings going on, and they've got a bright green mouth. We heard just a moment ago what sounded like cannon fire. And we're like looking around like, what the hell was that? It's bizarre. Okay, next up. Number 10, Cheshire Cats. We haven't sold one of these things in a really long time, so somebody's going to get kind of lucky getting it for $30. They kind of have this like pastel coloration with a darker purple streak through it. Okay. So the person that was asking about what are the best corals was really more about like what are the best corals for beginners, something that would be easy to get into. So far, if you haven't noticed a trend here, we've kind of organized our corals a little bit so that we're not jumping from various species to various species. What you've seen mostly are Zoanthids and palythoa up to this point. Zoas and palies are pretty good beginner corals. Anything that's going to be like the more commonplace, like soft corals like leathers and whatnot, those would also make excellent additions. You might want to stay away from many of the small polyp stony corals, as they tend to need a little bit more, stable environments. They might need more in the way of lighting, more in the way of flow than most, and they kind of don't play quite as well with some of the other corals. For example, like leathers can release a toxin into the water that kind of stymies the growth of stony corals. So if you have a lot of leathers, because those are good beginner corals, and then you add in some Acropora, for example, or any other type of SPS, you might have some chemical interaction going on there. So just as a real general rule of thumb, stick to Zoas, palies, soft corals, mushrooms, that sort of thing, if you're just starting out. Okay, moving on. We've got number 10 here. And these are the date night Zoas. And there are 2 of these available. Yeah, but again, as far as like coral selection, if you're just like planning out a reef tank, I guess this is some general advice, and we're just gonna move on here to the next one, coral number 12 here. The more research you can do up front, the better, and that sounds kind of obvious, but people don't really realize the scale of what I'm talking about. If you do about 100 hours of research on a particular topic like this, it'll probably save you $10,000 within the first 5 years of the hobby. Like, that is how much of a drastic difference it makes to really be prepared and to avoid a lot of really expensive mistakes. Okay, next coral, number 13. So we're kind of done with our Zoas and palies, at least in that section, and we're at our green-tipped torch here. These guys, so there's hammers and torches and Frogspawn as far as Euphilia go, and oftentimes I get questions as relating to how do you tell the difference between hammers, torches, and Frogspawn, and it really comes down to their tips. So you can see that this torch has a single, I guess, termination, like a terminal end to their tentacle. And that's kind of like the telltale sign of a torch. Frogspawn will have like multiple terminations, and then a hammer, will have like a single termination, but it's going to be kind of like this anchor-shaped, hammer-shaped thing, whereas this is a single round termination. So that's kind of like the obvious quick and easy way to tell. But torches do behave slightly in the most subtle way imaginable, subtle way different than the other two. They can be a little bit touchier, but they also, I think, eat more readily. So if you're into feeding your LPS, it's actually easier to feed a torch than it is a hammer or frog spawn. Okay, moving on. Okay, we actually have to move the camera for just a sec. So you kind of haven't seen behind the scenes here, but we've got a lot of things in motion. So the camera is like on a moving track and everything. So the track doesn't go forever, so we have to move the entire skid over. All right, and we're back. So this is actually not a repeat of coral number 13. This is coral number 14. It is the second green tip torch that we've got going on here. It's a slightly larger piece, and just as I told you about like multiple terminations on the tips of these things, if you look really carefully, you can see a single tentacle in the middle of this coral has 2 tips. It's still a torch. Okay, so moving on, we've got coral number 15, and looks like we're back into Zoa and Pali land. These are our Leonardos. We usually have at least one of these on our live sales, but this one I think has more polyps than we typically show. So this has at least a dozen or so polyps going on. Next up, coral number 16. Okay, number 16. We've got our Rostozoas. So, yeah, this is probably the most expensive thing that's going to be in this live sale. Rostas are one of like the most like, I guess it's a very in demand, very hot coral. And this one has, I think the last time I counted, like 9 polyps. So it's $100. It's seemingly a lot. Trust me, it's 9 polyps for $100. So that's probably the real gem there. Somebody's gonna get lucky with that. Next up, we've got a kind of a strange little combo rock here. So I'd say about half of this are eagle eyes, kind of that closed portion are all eagle eyes there. And then on the right side, it's just some weird mystery Zoa of some sort. And they have kind of like these sharp, pointy tentacles, not really sure what the heck they are. But it's a pretty interesting piece. All right, next up, 18. Darn it, these guys never opened. So these are it's another mix. So there's kind of like a few kind of random heads of different Zoas in there. But the majority are these blow pop Zoas, which have an orange center. Actually, could you tilt it down just a little bit? Because like the bottom right, there we go. The very bottom right polyp is kind of indicative of what you might see in the rest of the coral. It's got like this orange center, green skirt. And those are the blow pop Zoas. Okay, number 19 is our blue marbled mushroom. So this type of mushroom is a discosoma, and this is probably the most beginner friendly of the different mushrooms. These guys, you can cut them, it's possible, but you really don't need to. They reproduce by pedal laceration, P-E-D-A-L, And what that means is they kind of scoot along and drop bits and pieces of their foot behind. And as they do that, those little bits and pieces turn into new little baby mushrooms. So if you just like left this guy alone, in fact, if you kind of look carefully, on the underside, he has a little baby. And that's where, so in fact, this is 2 blue marble mushrooms. So there you go. But yeah, like the longer you let these things just kind of do their own thing and move around, all the little babies then make more babies, and so you end up with a rock of these mushrooms. And like I said, they're a very beginner-friendly piece. Next up, number 20, is the green Palythoa. So this is the first SPS that we're showing. And as far as SPS go, Palythoa tend to be pretty forgiving in terms of both light and flow. They can be kept in like the greatest range of it. So if you kind of have like a mixed reef going on with plenty of like large polyp stonies as well, and you're looking to try something in the realm of SPS, that's definitely something that you might want to consider. Next up, number 21, is... Did I miss it? Did I mess up? We have a typo. That's a pink Palythoa. There we go. Fix it on the fly. Yeah, so like the green, this guy's pink, and again, they are very, very, very resilient to any number of kind of like tank conditions. I would probably recommend keeping these guys into like medium to medium highlight. You're going to see some pretty drastic differences in their coloration depending on the type of lighting that they're going to be receiving. If you put them in something that's too dim, they're going to look more brown. The other thing that's kind of weird about Palythoa is that they do something called polyp bailout. And so if they're really unhappy with tank conditions, they have the ability to basically hit the eject button. And so like each of these little polyps will just be just kind of like swimming around your tank. And wherever they land, they form a new colony of Palythoa. That's probably not the best way to propagate them, because that's usually meaning that everything else has died in your tank. But yeah, they have that capability. If you did want to propagate these guys, they're very, very easy to cut and then re-glue to another substrate. So number 22, let's move on. And we've got here our orange mini maxi. These guys, we haven't sold an orange one on our website for a really long time, mainly because, well, they're a little bit harder to find, but also they kind of, when you get these guys in groups, they all stack up on top of each other. And so it's entirely possible that in this big dog pile of mini maxi anemones, they kind of like hide a bunch of them. And so this guy had been hidden from us for a little while now. So we kind of like dug him up. And typically we would sell this for about $75 to $100 on the site, but since this is a live show and we're feeling good about spring, it's $50. Okay, next coral up, number 23, is a golden Leptosiris. We tend to try to get at least one Leptosiris, whether it's a jack-o'-lantern or a golden, and so this is the only one that we've got going on in this particular this particular live sale. This guy is what looks like between 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch in diameter, and I happen to like the golden a little bit better than the jack-o'-lantern, only because the way that the orange and yellow play in this coral, it almost looks like it's gold, like 24 karat gold, whereas a lot of the other corals don't have that metallic look to it. So it's a very, very, very distinctive aesthetic quality that's kind of unique to this coral alone. Next up, We've got our pink and green Blastomussa merletti. So you're probably aware, you may or may not be aware, that there's two main types of Blastomussa that are commonly seen in this hobby. There's the Blastomussa welsey and the Blastomussa merletti. Merletti tend to be a little smaller. The heads themselves are a little smaller. They tend to grow a lot faster, and they tend to be easier to keep. Merletti, they have a wider range of coloration. They tend to be a lot more expensive. But yeah, if you're looking to just start into Blastomussa, Merlettis are a pretty safe bet. Okay, moving on, number 25. This is the red Merletti. Now, I did mention that welsies are usually larger. This particular morph of red Blastomussa merletti is kind of weird in this sense because its polyps are every bit as large as a welsey. In fact, a lot of people might be confused that, you know, this is a welsey, but it's really a merletti once you start looking at its skeleton and stuff. Okay, so it looks like we've got to go ahead and cap our screen here. Moving our whole rig. And this is probably a time that we can use to talk about how this works again, because sometimes this is some people's first live show that they've seen from Tidal Gardens. And the way that it's probably best to take a look at it is to have both TidalGardens.com open as well as YouTube. So you can participate live through YouTube, but if you wanted to purchase anything, you can have Tidal Gardens on, and in the live sales section is where you can like pick and choose from the different corals. And again, you'll only see the numbers and the price, but you see that on this actual broadcast is where we're revealing what those things are one at a time. Shipping, I know that somebody's going to be asking about shipping. So shipping is a $39.99 flat rate. But it's free for orders over $250. So once you're done purchasing corals, you can then just check out, but you can add in that $39.99 shipping module, just so you're covered. So if anybody has any questions about that specifically, I'll go over it again. Okay. So what number are we on, Matthew? 26. Okay. Number 26. This is a really, really, really tiny frag of our sky blue Hydnophora. So we just got a shout out from Louis Gretsch. He's actually from Malta watching this cast, and it's always cool to get like the international crowd on here because I realize that you guys, you guys can't purchase coral. We only ship to the U.S., but it's really cool that you log in to participate. Like last time I think we had somebody from Singapore say hello, and Australia we've seen, the UK, and some people get really creative in Germany. Because Germany has weird broadcast laws, so YouTube live streams are all blocked in Germany. So I think that they had to like hack their Google Chrome or something like that to actually see this webcast. So I definitely appreciate our German viewers. All right. Next up, blue and green Symposium. We've got 5 of these available. They're one of the more interesting soft corals. For the longest time, they just simply were difficult to find, but they're very easy to propagate, so we've been lucky enough to be propagating these things for years now. Yeah, originally they were almost double this price, and they're still pretty expensive on our website, like closer to $50. So if you're looking for Symposium, again, it's a soft coral, and it's fairly easy to take care of, giving it decent flow, medium light. Next up, number 28. This is the first time we're offering this where it actually looks halfway decent. Whenever we grab these guys, they close their polyps. And their polyps stay closed for like 2 days, something like that. So they get the name Blue Ridge because that top white edge under actinics actually has almost like a blue fluorescence to it. So that ridge, Blue Ridge. The polyps themselves are almost Gorgonian-like, and the coral, the flesh itself is very leathery. It feels like actually like leather. And you can almost see it has kind of like a waxy look to it. This coral tightens up, it retracts all of its polyps, and then it sheds off an entire like layer of this waxy film on it fairly consistently to kind of keep algae and detritus from building up on it. So at any given time, it can look really, really nice and bushy like this, or it can look completely flat and shiny. So it kind of goes through these different peaks and valleys as far as how extended it is. And like I said, the problem is as soon as you touch these guys, they get really, really upset and they stay closed for like a really long time. But this one's cooperating finally. Next up, we've got number 29 here, the neon green candy cane. Nothing really to these. They're kind of like the quintessential little LPS. Fairly easy to keep. They pretty much tolerate medium light, medium flow, like most things. The neon, I think at one time we had maybe 3 or 4 different types of candy canes. The neon green by far is like the most popular. It tends to be one of the most heavily requested. Next up, number 30. This is one of the other color morphs. It's like a bicolor. It's kind of reddish with a green center. And each of these had 2 polyps. And these guys grow new heads fairly quickly. They, I think it's called just fission, where each polyp kind of gets a figure 8 shape and then pinches off into 2 different ones. Next up, number 31. This is a pastel-colored prism favia. This is an Australian coral, and these guys, they tend to be really slow growing. So if you've got a lot of patience, you can kind of grow these guys out. But yeah, favia, like true, like I guess these really large polyped favias tend to be very slow growing. And Christopher Scott, thank you very much. Don't forget to check out every time. Good point. So to actually purchase corals on the live sale, you have to finish the checkout process. Just putting it into your shopping cart does not reserve the coral for you. It's only through the checking out process. So if you see something you really like and that's just the only one you've seen so far, check out with it. And then if you see something later, check out with that one. And there's a shipping option for like local/live sale where it just sets the shipping cost to 0. And so when you're finally done shopping with everything else, you can then just check out with a shipping module for $39.99, and we'll figure out shipping terms once the live sale is over. All right, so we're at what, number 32 now? This guy is a purple and green Acan Bowerbanki. It's a single polyp. So I think our next video is actually going to be on acans. There's 3 varieties, and the largest of them, well, there's 3 varieties, I should say, that are very, very common in this hobby. There's the Bowerbankis, which are very large polyped. There's Lord Howensises, which are kind of, they have like really round, fleshy polyps. And then there's Acan echinata, which are kind of flat, but have smaller polyps than the Bowerbankis. Now, this is a little bit of a side story, but sometimes you see what looks like a Bowerbanki, and it's called, and the people call it an Acan maxima, because that's what they saw in a book or something like that. I can almost 100% guarantee that it is not, in fact, an Acan maxima, because those are only found in Oman. And there has never, ever been a legal shipment out of Oman of corals. Like, ever. So unless it was craftily smuggled out somehow, where you smuggled something out of freaking Oman into the United States, it is not an Acan maxima. So anytime you see that, just assume that it's one of these. A Bowerbanki. It's much more likely. Okay. Next up, item number 33 is another of these Australian Favias. This is one of the more popular colorations. It's the Dragon Soul. Okay. Next up is our first mushroom that we've kind of... Oh, no, it's our second mushroom. We did the Discosoma before. And this guy's a Rhodactis. So Rhodactis are some of like the hairy, frilly mushrooms. And this one, it's kind of hard to see, but it actually has a yellow rim. So it's orange with a yellow rim. And if we were just to crank only like LED actinic at this thing, you'd really see the fluorescence of that rim. I'm not going to tempt fate. We dunked a light earlier today, moving it around. So I was going to suggest, yeah, let's just move the lights. But no, we're not going to do that. So you're just going to have to take my word for it. Oh, yeah, we can turn it off. Let's see what it looks like when you just turn off the light and not dunk it in the tank. That'd be wonderful. No, not helping. All right, well, we tried. So next up is a lithophyllin. So you may or may not have heard of a lithophyllin. It is one of the many genera of coral that get lumped into chalices. So, people always ask, what are the care requirements of chalices? Well, it really depends on what the heck you're actually talking about. There's about 10 different genera, so genuses. Genuses is not a word, genera is. But they can be wildly different in terms of care requirements. Some like low light, some like high light, some do well in flow. Some are just plain sensitive where, if you buy this coral, 90% of the time it's just going to die no matter what you do. Sorry, that's just how it is. Lithophyllin is lumped into that category of this broad umbrella that we call chalices. And it's kind of unique in that it almost looks like a multi-mouthed fungia. It behaves very much like that. It doesn't scoot around the sand like a fungia does, but it has that aesthetic to it, which kind of begs the question, why is it even called a chalice at all? Who knows? But yeah, if you're looking for something that's kind of quirky, kind of interesting, that's fairly easy to care for, lithophyllin is there. And also, just purple and blue coloration is kind of a difficult combination to sometimes find. So it's kind of attractive for that reason as well. Next up, number 36. We've got a tiny little green-eyed Favites. Now, it's kind of subtle, and I really hope that this comes through after YouTube gets done mangling my image quality. But if you look really carefully at the mouth, you can see that there's like almost like a speckled coloration to it. So the mouth and the edge is like a red and green speckle, while the main majority of the flesh is red. So if you've got any questions along the way and you're on chat, feel free to just to throw it in there. We'll try to get to it. I'm paying better attention to chat now than I usually do. It's got a lot on my plate right now. So next up is our orange Pavona. These guys are pretty sweet. They're one of the easier SPS corals to keep, and they grow differently. So Pavona is called a cactus coral, and they're called cactus because they usually form these plates, like these vertical plates. But orange pavona does not. Orange pavona kind of builds up these knuckle-like fist-type growths. So it's kind of an interesting little oddball amongst pavona. So we are going to have to move the camera again. So another question that sometimes we get is like, how do we maintain water chemistry? And in our systems, we do a little bit like old school as far as things go. So our systems are like 1,000 gallons each, roughly. So we really rely a lot on water changes. We do about 15% every couple weeks here. So if you do the math on that, it's a whole bunch. I mean, we just blow through like lots and lots and lots of pallets of salt. But it turns out it's a very efficient way and very cost-effective way to really balance out all the water chemistry. The other thing we do is we run calcium reactors. Now, I was like super duper skeptical about like what the effect of a calcium reactor would be on such a large system. But it turns out that it is actually really, really effective. And so we pretty much tossed a calcium reactor onto every single like pretty much every single system that we have. So 5 systems, 5 calcium reactors. So Matthew, what number did we leave off on?
37. 38 now.
38. All right. So this is our yellowbird's nest. It's a very fast-growing SPS, kind of like Palythoa, in that it's a little more easy to care for, the little bit more forgiving on light requirements, but the main thing is it's extremely fast growing. So as long as you give it some really good flow, medium lighting, it'll do nicely. Okay, so Mr. Buckeye's asking, what do you recommend when a torch just doesn't open up? So that's actually more common than you might think. Typically when any Euphilia, whether it be torch, hammer, Frogspawn, when any of them aren't opening up, it's usually one of 2 reasons. Either something is bothering it, or it's got some type of bacterial infection. So the first thing I always kind of look towards is is there anything obviously messing with it? I mean, do you have like a dwarf angel in the tank? Guaranteed that's going to be a problem. I mean, everybody likes that has a dwarf angel, whether it be like a coral beauty or a flame. They're like, well, I've never seen it bother anything. It can't be that. 100% guaranteed it's your flame angel. Okay, 100% of the time. Whether you see it or not, they're smart fish. They're going to mess with all of your corals. Like, I've heard so many times, it's not my flame angel or it's not my dwarf angel. As soon as they remove it, everything gets better. So stuff like that. So even like certain clownfish sometimes mess with Euphilia. Kind of have to pay attention to that. Any kind of crabs, that sort of thing, that's also kind of like a red flag. But if it's not anything that's like large that you can really clearly easily diagnose, it could be bacterial. And in that case, what I always like to do is kind of like a dip in iodine. So like Lugol's iodine solution is very popular. It's basically like a concentrated iodine, and I think it's like 40 drops of that per gallon, and you make this little bath for it essentially. And maybe like 5-10 minutes at the most every few days, and that tends to help any bacterial issues with corals like that. So those are the 2 things that I would give a try to. And I think the last thing that I would look to is to do just a prophylactic water change. Just like when was the last time I did a water change? Now is probably a good time to do my next one. So that's probably my little checklist of stuff to look for. Okay, so we're done looking at the bird's nest. Next coral is our bird of paradise. So these guys, again, it's this type of Seriatopora, but they have a lot more things going on in the way of color. They've got a yellow base, like they've got some green highlights, some purple highlights. It's a very attractive, highly sought after SPS. And the nice thing is it's not incredibly difficult to keep either. Okay. Next up, we have number 40, which is our neon green acro. So now that we're getting into like our little section of acros, we've got a nice little set coming up. Acropora in general are amongst like the more difficult to keep corals in the sense that they're very sensitive and they're very demanding of like very good quality, stable water quality, high light, high flow. So there's some demands already of your system. And when I say that they're sensitive, there's going to be one group of people that are like, well, I keep acros just fine in my tank. There's never been any problem. And I say, great. But there's also another set of people that literally have cost no object aquariums and still struggle with this type of coral. They can do great for a long time, double, triple in size, and suddenly crash. So Acropora have always been on that fence as far as something that is challenging, but people have success with it, and so it's this constant battle to tweak and figure out the best way to keep it. And it almost depends on like a tank per tank basis. But the consistent thing is good water quality, strong flow, strong light. Moving on, we've got number 41. This is an Acropora millipora. The species name is millipora. So actually this M on millipora should really be, it should be really lowercase. So let me fix that. There we go. Species names are lowercase. Genus names are capitalized. So millipora are kind of have this distinction because they have these very, I guess, hairy-looking polyps with a particular long, like a tentacle that's even longer than the rest of them. So and usually that's lighter. So you have like all of the long tentacles plus a really long, lightly colored tentacle. And sometimes people make entire systems just based around specifically millipora because that's just their thing. Like Acropora tend to not have a lot of movement. It's a stony coral, but because they're so furry, this particular type, it's highly sought after in that regard. Okay, number 42, the red dragon acro. So these guys have thankfully been lowering in price because of propagation, but they used to be outlandishly expensive when they first hit the scene. They're still pretty in demand. I mean, I know a lot of folks are still looking for them. So here's your chance to get a good, 1-inch piece, at least 1-inch plus for about $30. For a while, it wasn't very easy to find something that had this pinkish red coloration, but also had this form of branching. You've seen the two Acropora that we just showed. They're much thicker branch, whereas this thinner bottle brush look is a lot more uncommon still. Number 43. I'm going to put a little question mark next to this guy. I'm not sure if it's a tort or not. When it comes to identification of Acropora, there's a lot of mislabeling that goes on, and I am not a coral taxonomy expert by any stretch. It just kind of looks like a tort because it looks like another coral that I know is sold as a tort. So we're just calling this one a green tort for simplicity, but I'm not quite sure exactly. But if you like it, it's $25. Next up is probably one of my favorite acros. It's the Oregon tort. It's kind of got like this teal base, bright purple tip with a terminal bright green polyp, or bright green terminal polyp, I should say. So like the very tip, nested in that purple, is going to be like a bright green. It's one of the cooler looking acros out there. And I don't know, it's been around for like a long time. I'm going to guess like at least, a few years. But it's always been in really high demand. And whenever we frag this thing, everybody like gobbles up like the little tiny 1/8-inch frags. Like, it's always, always, always highly sought after. So if you want that piece, it's a little over 1/2 inch, almost close to 3/4 maybe. Okay, Mr. Buckeye asks, what are your thoughts about Kessel LEDs? And what's your favorite lighting on the market? I like Kessels a lot. I don't use any on my system for complete disclosure there, but it's not because they're not good. It's just because we never actually plugged any in here. But Kessel is one of the few companies that actually manufactures their own LEDs. I think that there's like 3 companies out there. One that does like photography lighting for studios, one that does like fiber optic lighting for like buildings and stuff, and this tiny itty bitty saltwater division that does Kessel. So like their backbone really is in these big like telecommunications and fiber optic systems and stuff like that, I think. So they have a lot of going on in R&D and stuff. And so they can tweak their LEDs more so than a lot of other lighting companies that are just relying on Cree, which is like a good brand of LED, but it is a third-party brand. So in that sense, Kessel's very nice. They make pretty good quality fixtures. So when you hold it in your hand, it's substantial. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking to get some Kessels, I think that'd be great. One of our other videos, I did a tank review of my friend Will's tank, and he uses 2 Kessels, and you can kind of see what those look like with the camera that I'm running now. So if you're interested, I mean, that's kind of worth taking a look at. He's got a lot of good success with it. My favorite lighting on the market, it's probably a T5 LED combo made by ATI called a power module. I did a video on that as well. You might want to check that out. I like those a lot. Okay, we've stuck on 46 for a while. Let's go to 40. No, we've stuck on 45 for a while. No.
You need to do it 45.
Dang, I'm all lost. So we're on 45 now? Yes. Thanks, guys. All right, 45. Frog skin acro. Pretty neat stuff. Also kind of furry, not quite as furry as like a Montipora that I showed earlier, but it's kind of got like almost like a bulbous look to it. It's kind of a cool piece. All right, now are we on 46? All right. So this is our woolly mammoth Acropora. We had some fun with this guy a little bit earlier today. So this is the correct spelling of woolly. All right, like woolly mammoth has 2 O's and 2 L's. But if you wanted to say something is woolly, as in made of wool, there's only 1 L. So they actually made up an entire word specifically for woolly mammoth. That's my little thing that I learned today. I've been very productive, as you can tell. So anyway, this guy also is another, it's a very fuzzy looking acro, very distinctive. You can check him out, he's $30. Checking number 47 now. Purple bonsais. I have to check to see if we've put more in quantity than just this one. But if it happens to sell really quickly, I'll add more. We do have like a ton of these guys growing. Like, I don't know where we fragged them all from or what, but we just simply have a lot of these guys growing. And they're really cool, like purple base, bright green polyps. And they're fairly cheap right now at $20. And you can, if you can kind of get a look at its base a little, you can see just how much these guys have encrusted down onto their plugs. I mean, we've been growing these guys for a while. It's not just like something that we just cut and glued real fast. All right, next we've got a prismatic acro. So this guy is kind of tall, so he doesn't even fit into the frame. So we have to take a peek at the base and then at the top. So he's probably a good, I don't know, close to 3 inches maybe. Yeah, 3.5 inches maybe. Very cool combination of like the pinks, the purples, and like the green. And just a very large piece. So if you're looking for something a little bit larger than what you've seen already, this is probably the biggest piece of acro that we're selling today. And we put some food in the water, so there's a little bit of junk that's caught on his tip. Okay, next coral. Number 49. You saw the red dragon. This is the purple dragon. It's slightly different coloration, and it has like these bright fluorescent purple tips. When you hear me pause like that, it's because I'm like reading chat. Okay, so next up, number 50. This is a German blue Montipora digitata. So Montipora digis are, they're actually like a branching variety. They, this one here looks like it's encrusting, and it's actually not an encrusting piece. Like over time, this thing will send up shoots and will be a full branching, a branching Monty if you're familiar with what those look like. They're more sticks than so much than like a flat encrusting base like this. But the really, I guess, noticeable and remarkable thing about this coral is the coloration. Before, when I started this hobby, there's no way you would find anything that was like blue, and certainly not blue in SPS. And now that there is some selection, it's still difficult to find blue Montipora. So as far as that goes, that makes this thing pretty remarkable. So 4127 John asks, is this only going to show SPS corals? We decided to like have things in I guess organized categories. So we went through like an Acropora section just now. We're going through a Montipora section only because like when I talk about Montipora, I can do it kind of like all at once, as opposed to like, skipping past 3 corals and talking about Montipora again, skipping past another 3 corals and there's another Monty. So we kind of like consolidated it just a little bit. So no, there's gonna be other stuff, but right now it's all about these Monties in SPS. Next coral, number 51, is a pink sand dollar Monty. You can see a slight color difference between this and the German blue digi that you saw earlier. Slightly different polyp. And you can kind of see how this is an encrusting piece, and that's not going to be sending up shoots. Okay, moving the thing again. Okay, so Tony Goose asks, is your shipping next day and do you ship with a heat pack? Yes, we do ship next day. Now, obviously we're not shipping on Sunday. There's no shipping service available. So the earliest would be Monday for delivery Tuesday. And we ship next day air. We ship specifically FedEx priority overnight. And so in most geographies, priority overnight shows up by 10:30 a.m. And sometimes as early as like 8:30 sometimes. But usually most places it's by 10:30 a.m. the next day. Some places it's like noon-ish. Very rarely is it in the afternoon. So yeah, we ship next day. In heat packs, we've been shipping heat packs this entire time. We haven't gotten off of it yet, but today was the first day that I would have possibly considered not using a heat pack. It's getting a little warmer and sunnier here in Ohio, but we typically have like a long, arduous winter. So yeah, we've been shipping heat packs for a while now. What number are we on?
We're on 52.
52. All right, at least somebody's paying attention. We've got a Montipora orangi. And again, I'm kind of like particular about this. I don't know. See, this is what happens when you get a biology degree. You end up like, just selling coral online, so you're not really doing research, but you remember random stuff, like species names being lowercase. And somehow that mattering. It doesn't. So this is an orangi. And it's a pretty cool shape as far as like Monties go. It almost like looks like a scoop of frozen yogurt or something. That's what I always think of when I see these things. They look so smooth and buttery, and then it has like the polyp and the actual base has the exact same coloration. So it's a very cool piece. It's an encrusting Montipora. Okay. Mr. Buckeye asks, what's your favorite coral and what is your least favorite? I don't have a favorite coral anymore. When I first got into this hobby, my favorite was probably an elegance coral. Just because I loved the look of it. It looked like a giant anemone, but it was actually a stony coral. And it was, at the time, this was like in the early 90s, they're like really easy to keep, practically bulletproof. And they just looked incredible at the time. Since then, I don't know. It was like Blastomusa for a little while. I just went from like, thing to thing to thing, but I don't really have a favorite anymore. Let's go to number 53, next coral. Keep things moving. Neon green Montipora digitata. Like I mentioned, it was like the German blue digi will eventually form little stalks like this. And you can kind of get an idea of what that'll look like in time. I'm trying to think actually, like, what's my least favorite coral? Ones that die, like, all the time. Like, the ones that, like, I pay $100 for or something like that and just die no matter what. And I keep having to buy them because people still want just to have them around to look at. But nobody ever buys it from me. They just die in my care. Probably whatever does that. And there's a short list. Okay, number 54. It's a Superman Monty. This has been a classic. I mean, this has been around for like years and years and years. Blue base, bright red polyps. Very cool. I don't know, in chat, just let me know, what is your favorite? I'm kind of curious to see if like everybody's favorite isn't actually in this live show or something. That would be my luck. All right, moving on. Number 55. This is a purple plating Monty. This is the first of the platers. I mean, we've seen some encrusting. We've seen some branching. This is our first encrusting or plating that we're showing here. These guys tend to grow a lot faster than the other ones. Much larger too. And there's two of these available, and they're pretty cheap. I mean, $15 is pretty cheap as far as like our sales go. Okay, moving on. We've got a blue and gold Monty. The yellow base is a little bit difficult to see. I think this one might not have been in as bright as bright of lighting as some of our other specimens, but under bright light, these guys develop like a yellow base and like these bluish purple polyps. And if you look at past streams, and you can probably see it, or like past what you see is what you get corals on our site, you can kind of see different coloration, because we get a lot of seasonality here at the greenhouse. So depending on what season it is, our corals tend to look different. So if we do a live sale like in August or something, or July, you're going to be seeing some different coloration. And it's not because they're different corals. It's just because summertime does weird things to corals. And not in a good way usually. But yeah, stuff definitely changes color quite a lot here. Okay, moving on. Number 57. We've got a neon green plating Monty. This thing's like super ridiculous kryptonite green. Okay. So Tyler Tower says, I hope there's some more Euphilias coming. They're also my favorite corals or torches. Okay, cool. You are in luck. You're going to see some Euphilias for sure. Christopher Scott's favorite is an Acanth Lord. I don't think we're going to see any Acanth Lords. Of course. Duncan's I'm hearing. Yellow Seriatopora, very cool. Pom-Pom Xenia. All right, cool. All right, number 58. Orange Plating Montipora. These things grow incredibly, incredibly fast. So when you are placing them, kind of keep an eye out for stuff that might be shaded underneath it, because it might have like this umbrella effect where it just kind of like, blots out the sun for corals underneath. Okay, number 59. It's an encrusting Monty. This is the Rainbow Montipora. This one is harder to tell than usual. Like usually our Rainbow Monties have about 3 or 4 colors going on. This guy has like barely 3 right now. But I would expect it to pick up some green and yellow highlights later. As it grows, different parts of it take on different colorations. So right now it's looking very Superman-ish. But again, under LEDs, you can really start to see more differentiation. So yeah, bright light, good spectrum, good flow, and this thing is one of like the most impressive as far as like corals that have 4 or 5 colors. Number 60 is our pink Cyphastrea. So we've talked a lot about these SPS that tend to have some like high light demands. This is the exact opposite. A pink Cyphastrea, or any Cyphastrea for that matter, tends to do much better in lower light. So if you have that shady overhang from a Montipora, like a plater, this probably a good home underneath something like that. I've never seen a tank that's too dark for a Cyphastrea. Next up, number 61, we've got our green-eyed Cyphastrea. Same deal. The darker the tank, probably the better. They'll really struggle in highlights. I wouldn't even attempt it. Okay, number 62. Who's that Euphilia person? Tyler. There you go. Here's your purple tip Frogspawn. So remember when we talked about torches? So Frogspawn have like the multiple terminations at the end of every tentacle. So you can kind of see that going on here. This is an Indonesian variety, so it tends to be a fairly fast-growing, branching variety. So like a single head, it probably has like buds at its base already growing, like little tiny ones, and that's kind of how these things replicate and replicate quickly. Next up, number 63. So these are our thicker frog spawns. These are like the species I think is Yayamensis. They're Australian, and they tend to have, if you look at the tentacle, it's a very distinctive, really thick, like densely packed tentacle structure as far as frog spawn goes. And unfortunately, the combination of its rarity and Australia, they tend to be a lot more pricey. So this is about as cheap as we're able to sell these. So I would try to snatch these things up because usually they're 3 figures once we put them on TidalGardens.com. And this is the teal variety. We have the next one coming up, number 64, is our orange variety. So if you're looking for something that's kind of like unique, something that's really hard to find, it's definitely these frog spawn. And I really wouldn't anticipate doing a lot with propagation of these, at least for me on a commercial scale, because unlike the Indonesian ones that are very fast growing, these guys tend to be much more slow. I don't know if they bud off at their base or anything like that. So it's definitely like a collector piece that you're going to just to keep in your own home aquarium, more so than I would be trying to propagate. Okay, so we need to move the rig again. So let's see. What's new been going on with us here? Not a whole lot. Oh, I did mention last time that I got a meat grinder, and I just made my first batch of fish food. I actually went to the fish market and ended up like just grinding up a bunch of like random seafood, and my whole house like reeks right now. Okay, actually, we got a question. Carl Perkins is wondering what type of saw do we use to cut our corals? Right now, we're using a Griffin. It's a one of those diamond bladed band saws. I think they're about $300 or something like that. Pretty neat. We've been using it for years now, so it's a pretty solid piece of machinery. But yeah, like the latest toy is that meat grinder, and yeah, it makes like the nastiest, greasiest, fish and shellfish mashup. But that's what we're experimenting, feeding all the stuff in the greenhouse here. So I'll give you a progress report as we go. It's definitely very different than like the frozen food that we're able to get just commercially. You can definitely tell like the corals react differently. But more on that later. Coral number 65 here is the Miami Lobo brain. Really cool, like deep purple center, and obviously it's got some nice orange coloration towards the ends. So somebody's asking, is anybody getting lag? Hopefully, it's not my stream. I don't know. Like we were having all kinds of like weird little lag issues in the last broadcast. So if people are getting like skips and lag and whatnot, you just let me know in chat, because I am kind of curious. There's not a whole lot I can do about it at this point. Okay, we're kind of we're already getting pretty creative with bandwidth issues, but I am kind of curious to see if what we did to this stream is better, because it is a very, very different setup that we're doing now. Okay, next up, number 66. We have a little Australian elegance. So yeah, somebody was asking earlier, like what used to be my favorite coral. It's very much up in the air, but it used to be elegances. And these guys are rock solid now. They, for like a 10-year period, they were not good. Like they were, the Indonesian ones tend to do very, very poorly. They would get like some mysterious illness. So for like I said, like a 10-year stretch, I wouldn't own any of them. But since we've been sourcing some from Australia, they have been rock solid. So very, very confident about like the high quality of these guys. Yeah, the little damsel made a cameo appearance there. Some people noticed it on the Lobo brain before. Okay, number 67. Or Orange Redactus. This is a slightly different Orange Redactus than the first one that we showed. This one does not have a yellow rim, but it's pretty cool. It's got a nice bluish purple base. Next up, we've got some green star polyps. They're common, they're pretty, they're tiny, and pretty cheap. So if you're looking to get into something like this, it's certainly available here. So we're seeing some weirdness on chat. It's funny. So the thing about green star polyps is, believe it or not, I used to have a lot of trouble keeping it. It's like a super like newbie, easy to keep coral, right? But I really struggled with it, and it only the thing that really kind of made it a lot easier for me was flow. Like intense flow tends to help these guys a lot. For some reason, they kind of close up and get covered with algae if they don't receive enough flow. So that's one thing to consider keeping these guys. Next coral, number 69, is our blue xenia. And this is actually like a true xenia. Sometimes you see like other corals that really aren't xenia at all being called blue xenia. Like Cispicillaria sometimes is called blue xenia, but it's clearly a completely different genus. This stuff doesn't pulse. It kind of squirms. So you kind of see how like the tentacles are curled up like that. They kind of just writhe, and it's kind of a neat behavior specific to these guys. And they grow very, very fast, like just about every other type of xenia. All right, next up, number 70. This is the Red Sea pulsing xenia. So already, you can tell the difference between a xenia that pulses and one that doesn't. So, yeah. So here's the thing. You're either going to hear people say that this is a weed and they hate it, or they're going to love it. And the number of people that love xenia and buy xenia would stun you. Like, there's entire like geographies where people can't give this stuff away in their local clubs and whatnot. There's no question that this is the best seller here at Tidal Gardens. Like, it's not even close. Compared to like any high dollar chalice, anything like that, this stuff is number one. Like, it is. We've been propagating it for God knows how long, and we don't even remember where we got our original one. But yeah, we've probably gotten over 1,000 cuttings off of this original thing, and it's still one of our best sellers. It's a tremendously popular coral. So if you like that sort of thing, just throwing it out there, it's available. All right, number 71. This is a non-photosynthetic stony coral. It's called a Dendrophilia. So anytime that we're talking about these large polyp stonies that are non-photosynthetic, that means that it's not getting anything from your lighting. It needs to be fed. And ideally, it would be fed 2-3 times a day. The stuff that this particular piece likes, it's a lot of the meaty foods that you would probably get from like a grocery store, more so than like a professionally manufactured food. I don't know why, but it responds to like jumbo shrimp more than it does to anything else. They open more at night, but eventually you can train them to open during the day. This one, Dendrophilia, tend to be a little bit more difficult to feed than Tabastria, so we kind of have to keep that in mind if you wanted to try one of these. So if you can like look down towards the base a little bit lower, there is actually like little lower, Matthew. Yeah, there we go. See that like weird shaped thing on the bottom right? That's like a clam of some sort, maybe like a mussel or something, but some filter feeding mollusk. So I don't know. It doesn't look that pretty. It's just weird and cool. So whoever gets this Dendrophilia also gets the weird, cool shellfish thing. All right, moving on. Number 72 is our Tabastrea, and I apologize for the angle. This does this thing no justice, but I don't know. Do you think that we can grab that and reposition it? A Tabastrea is a sun coral, and I can sort of see its back polyps are trying to open. It's very similar to the Dendrophilia in that it, yeah, there we go. Yeah, he's a little damaged. So you can see that, you know, it's got these yellow polyps. They constantly need to be fed, like 3-4 times a day if possible. And you, like I said before, you can train them to open during the day just by providing consistent food at consistent intervals. Okay, so somebody was asking about our Twitter account. What's our Twitter? I think it's twitter.com/TidalGardens. I think. And by the way, feel free to join us on Twitter. Uh, for whatever reason, like our Twitter account, we're active on it, and we have like no followers. It's like we have like less than 400 people that follow us on Twitter, but we have like 18,000 on YouTube and like 5,000 on Facebook. It's like this little tiny social networking thing that just we're just not that big on it. And like we have way more people on Instagram, and we hardly ever post on Instagram. So I don't know. It's just a weird thing, and I'm always on Twitter. But it's just one of those things, I guess. All right. Anyway, we're moving on. Item number 73. This is a scroll coral. This is Turbinaria. So if you're looking for something that's plating that's like not a Montipora, consider a scroll, because they have cool coloration, they have cool polyps, they grow a little bit more slowly, and they don't have quite the high light requirement that Montipora do, and they're a little bit more, I guess, tolerant of water conditions that Montipora is. So it's definitely one of those things. If you're looking for like a mixed reef with a lot of LPS, a scroll coral might be the thing for you. Okay, good. I got some people saying that they're now going to follow us on Twitters. Oh, I'll give you a good reason to follow us on Twitter. Every single time we post a coral in our "What You See Is What You Get" section, we send out a tweet that minute. So if you're on our Twitter feed, you'll literally get a minute by minute account of what corals we have available and when they become available. So sometimes people always ask me, like, can you send me a notification when you put up such and such coral? It's like, just follow us on Twitter. It's literally up to the second accurate as to when something gets listed. Okay. So number 74 is our Midnight Princess Favites. There's 2 of these available, and we're probably not going to have more of these available for a while. They take a while for us to grow, and for some reason they tend to be a little temperamental whenever we start fragging them, so we kind of like ease off of that a little bit. But it's one of the cooler Favites. It is a fast-growing coral, and it's just stunning, like, to look at with the bright green and that purple. Like, I guess, like, the more light you give it, that purple gets deeper and darker, almost to the point where it's black. It's a very cool looking piece, especially when it gets larger. And so we've got 2 of those available at 25. All right, 75 is a marbled favia. Slower growing, but definitely one of the cooler colored. Because it has this purple and almost like a muted pink pastel look to it. These guys, I think, can handle a little bit of light too. We've been keeping them in a place that gets a little bit more light than most of our favia typically do, and it's maintained its coloration quite nicely. And Pontus Enbaum said, looks like there's a brittle star under the scroll. Yeah, very likely. There's so many weird little creepy crawlies that are always in our corals. I mean, we do so much propagation here that we just like let a lot of things just grow. So we tend to have a lot of like weird little, third-party hitchhikers. Most of them are completely harmless, but every now and again we have like a pest. So we actually dip our corals all the time. I mean, we probably spend 50 hours a week dipping corals here, and it's not like new additions. We dip existing corals like constantly to try to manage any kind of bothersome pest issue here. But yeah, you're always going to see like little weird stuff growing here and there. Okay, what number are we on? 76. 76. We've got a purple pinstripe favia. This is a real tiny piece, but it's only $10. So if you're looking to try another favia, you can try one of these. Yeah, the cool thing obviously is that pinstriping pattern. You get the alternating green and purple look going on. And we're coming towards the end, you guys. I can see the end. Next up, 77. This is our green-eyed Varieties. Yeah, Varieties tend to be a lot faster growing than the Favias. They tend to have smaller polyps. A little easier to take care of overall, I would say. But similar coloration, but an easier and faster growing coral. So something that is a fairly good thing to try if you're just looking to get into some LPS. And last one, number 78. It's our orange and purple Acan echinata. So yeah, back to what I was saying long ago at the beginning of this broadcast about the different types of acans. The echinatas tend to be very flat. They tend to have, I guess, medium to small size polyps compared to certainly like the Lord Howensises or the Bowerbanki. But oh, and here's the other thing about aggression. You can't keep these guys touching one another at all. Like a Lord Howensis will kill an echinata, would kill a Bowerbanki. They just like do not get along at all. So you have to kind of give them all their own space. We're going to be doing a video just specifically about the different types of acans soon. So you can kind of like keep an eye out for that. So that pretty much does it for like the different corals. And yeah, so if you have any questions, we can get to that in chat here. So Anthony Debson is asking, do we sell abroad? Unfortunately, no, we can't. We just actually did get an import-export permit, but in order for us to send something overseas, it involves like using that export permit. It involves CITES. It involves us traveling to Chicago in person to send it out because it requires a Fish and Wildlife Field Office. So and like the actual international shipping is like a huge expense. So unless like you're comfortable picking up what would amount to maybe a $2,000 shipping alone fee, it's not worth it at all to ship abroad for us. So it's a tough sell. Yeah, so unfortunately no, it's just U.S. only, and Puerto Rico, like the U.S. territories, Virgin Islands, and not Hawaii. Not allowed to sell to Hawaii. But we've sold to Puerto Rico. We've sold to Alaska, all kinds of weird places. Do you have any advice for culturing Phyto from a powder? I have literally never done that, ever. So if I ever do it, I'll make a video for everyone. Let's see. Any chance you have duplicates that are going to launch on the site after the live sale? I missed out on a coral I wanted. You know, we might. Like, updating our website is a full-time job that we don't have anybody doing full-time yet. So we try to get roughly 200 corals or something on our site all the time. Like, that's kind of like our happy place. But, you know, sometimes we're only able to get up a few because photography takes a long time. So really what you're seeing with the live sale is one of the, I guess, like the most convenient ways to, for us to show a lot of coral really quickly. Like we just went through like 78 corals plus multiples. So that sort of thing would literally take us like close to a week to do if just by posting, you know, individual corals on our website. So we want to do this a little bit more. But yeah, we try to get as many corals up as possible. But you know, we have thousands here and we literally have like a couple hundred on the website. So it can be a little tough. Casino 007, no Canada. Unfortunately, no Canada. Can't do that. Will you ever open a European branch? I'd love to open a European branch. Love to. Here's the problem. I haven't been to Europe since I was a junior in high school. And let's just say, I'm not going to date myself exactly, but Dr. Dre's The Chronic came out my junior year in high school. So I'm old. So Europe has changed a lot, and maybe one day if I visit, I'll consider it. But I think I would love that. I hear you guys have like really, really, really great espresso, and I've become like an espresso crazy person lately. So I'd certainly consider it. Let's see. About those, so Tattoo Craze Ink Studio asks about those hermit crabs living in the SPS. Is it only a certain species? Those are Pagarita hermit crabs, and depending on the type of crab, they live only in specific SPS. So those yellow ones are Australian, and those only live in Acropora. There's others found in like Indonesia and stuff like that that only live in like Platygyra and stuff like that, and they're blue. And so there's all different types of them that are specific to a type of coral. Okay, so Goblin Miner, please answer my question. Do you have any tips on taking out green hair algae? Yes, lots of water changes and physical removal of algae. That's pretty much the only thing that's going to help you out. So whatever you're doing in terms of water changes, go ahead and double that and get a toothbrush and a net and about a couple months. And your hair algae problems will go away, I promise. Okay, Joe Gomez, I placed 3 orders. I'm only going to get charged for shipping one time, right? Correct. And if those 3 orders total more than 250, you will not be charged for shipping at all. Okay. Any last minute questions? How do you keep those craps? Because I really want one. They're actually really easy to keep. Yes, I read it word for word, guys. I'm literal that way. So yeah, the crabs are actually really easy to keep. They're hermit crabs. So you can feed them like basically with the turkey baster. We just like broadcast some rough seafood in their general direction, and yeah, they just gobble it right up. So as long as you keep trying to feed them every day, they'll be fine. All right, guys, we're at an hour and 30 minutes, so that pretty much wraps it up for this stream. Thank you all for joining us. Hopefully you guys found something that you liked on this live stream. But our next one, we've already picked out a date. It's May 2nd. Yes, May 2nd. So if you are just like tuning in late to this one, or you missed something this time, May 2nd, Saturday, May 2nd, 4 p.m. All right. Thanks a lot, you guys.